Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Ravi Zacharias? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So first I'll look at the background of Zacharias. I'll move to the timeline of some of the controversies, and then I'll offer my analysis. Ravi Zacharias was born in Madras, India on March 26, 1946. He was raised in Delhi after his family moved there when he was young. After being hospitalized for attempting to bring an end to his own life at age 17, he was despondent over the meaning of life, concerned that life had no purpose, like people were just wandering around doing things that did not matter. Therefore, he felt as though there was not much of a difference between being alive or dead. When in the hospital, he was approached by an individual who brought him a Bible and pointed out John 14, which contains a message from Jesus to Thomas the Apostle. This had an impact on Zacharias. He committed his life to Jesus Christ. Zacharias would move to Canada in 1966 along with his family. In 1972, he married and would eventually have 3 children. He also earned a bachelor's degree in 1972. He earned a master's of divinity in 1976. He started his evangelical ministry before his graduation and in 1984 formed Ravi Zacharias International Ministries, also known as RZIM. He traveled extensively to evangelize. He was extremely active. Zacharias was an apologist, a defender of the faith. He wrote many books, gave talks, interacted with thousands of people, and was highly influential. According to Zacharias, his strategy as an apologist involved logic, feelings, and moral judgment. He is best known for using logic to argue for the faith. His message was based on reason. He spent a good deal of time addressing various issues relevant in apologetics, like the nature of evil, defining morality, various cultural phenomenon, and existential issues, perhaps similar to the issues he faced when he was 17. His primary audience comprised college-educated conservative evangelicals, people who he believed were searching for an empirical defense of their faith. Zacharias believed in promoting skepticism and rational thought. He would ask people to challenge their own beliefs and look for rational explanations as to why things were the way they were. He believed that this type of skepticism would ultimately lead people to accept theism. Now moving to the timeline of controversies involving Zacharias. Zacharias was no stranger to controversy. Here are the main issues related to him. In the area of his educational credentials, he claimed that he had been a professor at the University of Oxford. This was not true. He referred to himself as a doctor on numerous occasions, saying he was Dr. Zacharias in videos and in several articles. In reality, he never had a PhD. He claimed that he had been conferred 10 honorary doctorates. Therefore, it was fine that he used the title doctor. The answer to the question of how many doctorates it takes to be considered a real doctor can be found if one can figure out the difference between 10 times 0 and 1,000,000 times 0. Believing oneself to be a doctor after being given an honorary doctorate is like somebody claiming to be a firefighter because they turned off a cooktop burner. Interestingly, for a while in his bio, he said he was conferred 6 doctoral degrees. It didn't say anything about honorary, although I guess one could argue that nobody would legitimately believe that a person would earn 6 doctoral degrees. But still, it should have been clearly stated. His ministry suggested that they would refrain from referring to Zacharias as a doctor because they were aware that this practice could be contentious in certain circles. I think they mean in every circle. It's never acceptable to mislead people about having a PhD or not. Moving on to the next issue, Zacharias started his own Center for Christian Apologetics, which offered theological degrees but did not have accreditation. This brings us to some of the more serious controversies. Sometime around 2017, Zacharias alleged that a Canadian woman named Lori Ann Thompson attempted to extort $5 million from him. Zacharias sued her, but dropped the lawsuit after reaching a private settlement. There were accusations going back and forth between Zacharias and Thompson. it's not clear what happened. Thompson said Zacharias crossed boundaries and took advantage of her. Zacharias said that Thompson was the one who crossed boundaries. In light of later findings that I'll discuss in a moment, it appears likely that Thompson was the one who was telling the truth. Interestingly, in a statement that Zacharias released about that situation, he said that in 45 years of marriage, he had never engaged in any inappropriate behavior of any kind. This is important to keep in mind considering some information that comes out later. Zacharias would die from a rare cancer in his spine on May 19, 2020. He was 74 years old. In August of 2020, 3 women who worked at day spas Zacharias co-owned came forward with allegations against him. They said he committed sexual harassment over a period of 5 years against several massage therapists. In reference to one victim, he allegedly masturbated in front of them on many occasions, referring to this behavior as therapy that he needed. In addition, he requested sex and explicit photographs from the victim. Zacharias allegedly touched another victim on several occasions. Now, his ministry, RZIM, was still in business after his death. They initially denied these claims, but they did hire a law firm to investigate. Based on the findings of that investigation, the ministry would confirm the allegations were true in December of 2020. They actually found some additional activity above and beyond what had been reported initially. Zacharias had received sexually explicit photographs from more than 200 women. All of the women were much younger than him. Essentially, all of them were in their 20s and 30s. Zacharias had required sex from one woman after he arranged for his ministry to give her money. He had touched at least 5 victims. The ministry apologized to the victims of Zacharias. 2 of his book publishers said they would not be selling his books anymore. Due to his predatory behavior, the Christian and Missionary Alliance revoked his ordination. I understand why they did this, but considering he is dead, I'm not sure this will really change the level of activity in which Zacharias would engage. Like Zacharias would come back as a ghost, and people would say, "Wait a second, I don't trust you. You're not ordained." What could have been going on in a case like this? Based on Zacharias' career, it seems likely that he did truly believe what he was saying. He believed himself to be a Christian. In looking at his inappropriate behavior, it seems as though it could have been something like a sex addiction as opposed to somebody dissatisfied with their primary relationship. There's a difference between a man who has an affair with one other person or even a couple of affairs and someone who has 200 different massage therapists in his phone and hundreds of images. He had a history of explicit online communication with many women. This doesn't mean he had a sex addiction. Some mental health professionals don't even believe there is such a thing as sex addiction. But when somebody meets the definition of this construct, they often exhibit behavior quite similar to what Zacharias was doing. Apparently, Zacharias was manipulative. For example, he told several victims that they were his reward for living a life of service to God. He instructed his victims to tell no one of his treachery. If they did, the damage to his reputation would be responsible for millions of souls being lost. He would ask the massage therapist about their families, their spiritual journey, and prior abuse they had suffered. He would give them financial gifts. This activity was primarily with 4 massage therapists. I find it interesting that many therapists said he never did anything wrong to them. So Zacharias was not completely out of control. Rather, he targeted specific people. Zacharias, of course, knew that he was victimizing these people. He knew that he could leverage their religious beliefs against them, like threatening that millions of souls would burn in the fires of hell. This is a manipulation tactic that he clearly thought out carefully. This brings me to the next question. What about his message? Does his behavior mean that his message is not true or should be doubted? As far as the message of Zacharias, someone could argue about his premises, his interpretations, his analysis, but overall, his message was based in logic. He was arguing from that point of view. Whether his logic made sense or not, of course, is a different matter. If he is guilty of these allegations, that doesn't automatically negate his message, although it does encourage a great deal of skepticism. I think if anybody disliked Zacharias when he was alive, they only have more reasons to dislike him now that he is dead. But if somebody was a fan, they are put in a precarious position. Can someone who is hypocritical offer a good argument? Was Zacharias really a Christian? Did he truly believe what he was saying? I look at it this way, using an example from law enforcement. Unfortunately, some police officers commit crimes, but they understand the law is real. They believe that they could get caught, and they believe they could go to jail. They are not respecting the law, but they're not denying its existence. Zacharias knew that he was doing something wrong. He may have been trapped in an addiction. He may have simply tricked himself in believing he was allowed to engage in the behavior, like when he said it was his reward. That doesn't mean he didn't believe. Sometimes when people want something badly enough, they will find a way to reach their goal, even if they have to twist around their values and logic to do it, even if they have to sidestep their own belief system. Those are my thoughts on Ravi Zacharias. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting. Thanks for watching.